Hey, my friends, when you understand this, fear and anxiety, well, they just seem to disappear. Really? Yeah, really. Because when you look at things differently, they do appear different. But that's easier said than done. No, it isn't. It's easier said, or it's easy said. But come and have a listen with me, and I'll take you through the process. Enjoy. Hey, this is the Personal Development Unplugged podcast, where we use hypnosis. Yeah, hypnosis. NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Don't worry what it is. It's just a mass of processes that we're going to get you to change. Change to let go of anxiety, low self-esteem, and create massive supreme inner confidence. But that's confidence in your competence and competence in your confidence, which means you can do anything and be safe, to enjoy the world as it should be, with you at the helm, creating the life that you want. That's what this podcast is about. You, and being the best you could be, singing from your real voice, aligned with your mission, aligned with your passions. That's what it's about. So if you're interested in letting go of anxiety, if you're interested in letting go of fear, guilt, all those blooming syndromes, imposter syndromes, and every little bit of the mind which is negative, then have a listen here, because we've got some wonderful processes and lots of good conversations between you and me to get us both thinking in such wonderful ways. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Just take the chance to have a listen.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, my friends, how are we doing today? I want to tell you a story. Well, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. But it's all about when you understand things, such as anxiety and fear. When you understand about the positive intention about it, it just disappears. Now, but before we get into that, I want to tell you a story that, well, long time ago, well, not that long a time ago, and it's a true story. What I'm going to tell you is 2 true experiences of me working with phobias. And the first one was this lovely lady came in to see me back in the days of when I was in Cambridge. And she said, I have a terrible phobia of thunderstorms. In fact, I look constantly for the weather reports to make sure there's not a thunderstorm. And I really do worry about them. But it was a bit weird. It was a bit weird because I find very few people actually have phobias. They do have anxiety, they do have fears, and sometimes it's like morphed and generalized and into something that is like a phobia. But I think sometimes we play it in our head and the word phobia just comes to mind. Oh, I've got this phobia. Now, I've got a fear about something, but hey, but you might have a phobia. But phobias are just a more extreme reaction, I think. So there she was. But it always got me because we were talking about it, because I like to understand and have my clients understand what their fear is doing for them. And you go, oh, Cloughie, how can fear do something for you? Because it's bloody fearful. It's frightening. How can fear be something that's good for you? Well, it generally saves you. And we're going to talk about that. But she said every time she has, or she gets this thunderstorm notice. She has an app for thunderstorms. Well, and that to me was even in some ways playing to the thunderstorm, to the phobia, to the fear. And she would then either stay indoors and invite people round to be with her, or she would have people phone her up and say, we too have noticed there's a thunderstorm due. would you like us to come and get you and take you around ours for the afternoon, for the evening? Come and have dinner. Come and have tea. Come and have a glass of wine. She liked her wine. And she used to smile when she was talking about this, which always gets me to think phobias are not phobias. But anyway, disregarding that, she had this thing about thunderstorms, and we worked with it. And in working with it, it also reminded me of this lovely lady who came to see me who had a driving phobia, another phobia. And she said, Paul, when I drive and I get a certain distance, it's around about 8 miles from my home, I have a panic attack. And I can't go any further and I have to come back. And now I'm thinking about it all the time because I want to go somewhere. I want to do something. I want to go out in my car. I'm a good driver. But I get to this, and I'm constantly thinking about it now. And that panic attack. And now I think it's a phobia. So I said, well, phobias, panic attacks, they're just behaviors. But she said, oh, it's so bad. So bad. And we talked about things. Again, getting some understanding. And it's not a case of going back to those fears, going back and reliving them. I hate that. I would never, ever, ever do that to any of my clients or with any of my clients. There are some therapists that do that, and they immerse people back into the time when they were that age and back into the memories and relive the memories as they were then. Sometimes it works. I don't like it though, because if it doesn't work, it doubles the fear, or I think it does anyway. You certainly come back and go, well, that was bloody frightening. Now I know why I'm frightened. But the things I like my clients to look at their issues differently. You see, when we look at things differently, they're different. They have to be, don't they? If you can look at them from a different perspective, maybe, and we call it in NLP, dissociation. Associated means being in the moment, looking through your own eyes. Dissociated, looking at yourself over there. So if you had a fear, I'm not going to do this with you. Don't do this. You don't have to do it. But if I used to get my clients to go, well, if you could see yourself that last time, but look at it from over here and look at yourself over there going through that, doing it again. And they go, oh, I was frightened back then, wasn't I? Oh, I didn't act very safely there. Oh, that was that when I had that panic attack when I was driving. In fact, I was unsafe for myself and other people. Ooh, now that's interesting, isn't it? Because fear, anxiety is there to protect you, isn't it? You see, she said, and the funny thing is, and it's not funny, but it is funny. She said, I can remember, I'll tell you what the funny thing is. The funny thing is, memories seem to come up when we start to do this work. And she said, I don't know what it is, Paul, but I keep getting a memory of my mum. What's that got to do with driving? She said, I don't know. I don't know what that's got to do with driving, because mum didn't drive. And certainly I was a little girl back at home with mum. And what's that got to do with driving, Paul? I don't know, she said. And I didn't know either, because I wasn't there. But we wanted to explore this a little deeper, and we just started talking. So, well, what is it about this little memory that keeps popping in your head? Maybe you just asked inside and said, how can I understand this better? And she said, oh, I get it. I get it. And you see, what she got was, what's the positive intention? The positive intention of having fear, of having panic. And I said to you before, you're probably saying it to me, Cluffy, there is no intention. There's intention, but there's no positive intention. How can anything be positive of feeling fearful, having a panic attack? Well, you see, this is where we sometimes go a little bit out of kilter. Originally, fear, back into that old reptilian brain of yours, when saber-toothed tigers ruled and run around the world. All over the place they were, everywhere. You had to be very wary. And the reason you had to be wary was because you might get eaten up. Therefore, you had this high alert status. Now, that wasn't a curious state. It was more from fear. So it's like your unconscious mind says, well, if I keep you on high alert with a little bit of fear, you are going to keep looking out for saber-toothed tigers. And because your ancestors, way back those trillions and billions and millions of years ago, didn't get eaten up, you're here today. So as if your reptilian brain goes, see, told you so. I've protected the whole line of your dynasty. So, well, I don't know whether your unconscious mind say, yeah, but what it is doing, it's trying to protect you and try to keep you safe. So a fear of heights. What does a fear of heights do? It stops you falling off things, falling off mountains. But unfortunately, there's not that many mountains around for us to fall off. But you never see anybody who has a fear of heights fall off a chair, because they won't go up a chair. They won't go up a ladder. They will never do anything like that. But also, when you talk to them, you also say, well, you know, how safe do you feel when you're like that? And you know as well as I do, when you're feeling fearful, you don't feel safe at bloody all. And that's where the conflict comes in. Because just like that lady says, I wasn't safe in that car. Not safe for myself and not safe for the people around me. And that's the conflict. It's a direct conflict. Your best friend, your unconscious mind says, I want to keep you safe, and actually creates the direct conflict by making you feel unsafe. So the very thing it's trying to do, it's not doing. In fact, it's doing the opposite. And this is that understanding. It's understanding. Not consciously, because we all know it's silly. I've had people have phobias of a paint can, a can of paint. Now, I've never seen a can of paint suddenly come run out of a cupboard and bonk you on the head. I literally had a young lady who had this phobia of paint, but again, it was nothing to do with paint. It manifested into that. I'll tell you that story another day. That was a lovely story. But you see, your unconscious mind is trying to do something for you, positively. But until it actually recognizes what it's doing is exact opposite of what it's trying to do, then it won't change because it thinks it's working. And you see, that's the thing. And that's where even just looking at something dissociated, seeing that you over there, takes away the emotion. Because when you're dissociated, really dissociated, you cannot feel that fear. I mean, there's a really great little example. I mean, if you imagine now, if you just close your eyes very quickly, or just imagine being on one of those Big Dipper type things, you know, on Disney, where they fly down big things and up the top and float down. And if you imagine you're in it now, you can feel that tension, that anxiety, that rush. But then if you just suddenly come away from that, and if you were looking at a movie, as it were, of you on that thing, you might say, whoa, that's exciting. Because you're not feeling it anymore. In fact, you're not feeling anything because you're just looking at yourself on that bloody fairground ride, that Big Dipper, or whatever they call them. You can't get the adrenaline rush if you're looking at yourself over there. You might be excited that you want to do it, but you wouldn't feel the feeling. So you dissociate it. But then we can learn from it because we can go, well, actually, that's not working, is it? Like this lady, she said, she actually consciously recognized that it wasn't working, and I knew then her unconscious mind was starting to get it too, that what it was trying to do was not working, but we hadn't quite worked out what it was trying to do because it didn't quite make sense, but she was getting there. Now you see, how could you do this differently? Well, here's what I want you to do, if you want to do it, by the way. And, you know, it's the old thing. We're going to close our eyes in a minute. It's not hypnosis. It's just a bit of imagineering, visualization, but it does, it helps to close your eyes because you're not distracted. So if it's okay to do that, you're not driving machinery and all that rubbishy stuff that we have to say, but just that you won't be, you'll be able to close your eyes just for a moment or two. And I want you to imagine. You see, if you suffer from a panic attack, or if you suffer from fear or anxiety, I want you to imagine it in a different way. Dissociated as well, and then associated. But we're not going to go to that thing. No, I told you not. Never going to go there. What I want you to do is just before we start this Imagineering, and by the way, some people will say, I can't visualize because I'm not seeing it in 2020 vision. Doesn't matter. You can go from 2020 vision all the way back to I'm aware that it's over there. I can't see anything at all, but I'm aware that it could be happening. That's good enough. You'll be somewhere, and when you get into it, it'll get even more. So I just want you to imagine a situation where in the past, you'd been frightened, you'd been fearful, a little bit panicky. But this time, just before we go there, just begin to imagine, well, if it were different, how would you like to feel? So maybe you just like to feel comfortable. I have a great process for panic attacks on the very first major or large episode we did here at Personal Development Unplugged. It was hashtag 2.1, just feeling comfortable. Have a listen to that one, and there's a process as well, process on the processes free hypnosis tracks at paulcloughonline.com/podcast. That's another thing, but that's a great thing to do anyway. So you do this as well, or do that as well as this. But just imagine, how would you like to feel? What would be the best? Maybe you want to feel more confident. Maybe you want to feel, as I say, more comfortable. Maybe you want to feel at ease. Maybe you want to feel more connected, because it could be like public speaking. And you want to feel, instead of frightened, you want to feel connected with your audience. Maybe you want to feel connected to your message. Maybe you want to feel charismatic. There is so many different ways you could feel. And it doesn't have to be just one. It could be a recipe. So I want to be confident, charismatic, and connected with my audience, and also being able to just deliver all the things I know. So it could be a little recipe. So just imagine that. How do you really want to be? And then see yourself over there being that way. Because I want you to imagine as if this was never, ever going to happen. Because that makes it easy. Because if you know it's never going to happen, you can imagine anything you like. Because it doesn't matter. So we're not challenging your unconscious mind. We're not pushing against that positive intention. We are just imagining as if this situation was never going to happen. But if it did, I want it this way. And see yourself over there being just like that. Acting as if you've got all those wonderful skills, all those wonderful emotions, the positive belief that just enthuses you, motivates you, and makes you feel that you are the real you over there. The you over there that's singing from their real voice. Notice the way they walk or they move. Notice the way their facial expression is. Maybe you can hear their voice from over here, and you can see it again, 2020 detail. Just know that it's happening. Maybe you just hear it. Whatever modality, you get this. You get this. And imagine going all the way through that and having the most successful conclusion. And as you do that, you can just think, I wonder what it'd be like if it was even better. What? Yeah, what would it be like? Because that's the first time I've done that. How else would I like it to be if it was even better? So as if you could rewind it and do it again. See yourself over there, doing it even better, being even more successful. And when I say successful, it doesn't have to be, all bells and fireworks, just being successful outcome, your successful outcome, achieving what you want to achieve, what you desire. And as you see it that way, knowing this is never going to happen, what would happen now if you floated into that you over there and go through that imagined scenario even better, with all those wonderful skills, with those wonderful behaviors, those wonderful positive emotions and beliefs, looking through your own eyes, seeing the people around you if there's people there. Notice how they connect with you if they're there. Notice how it feels when you're so successful in this thing. And as you do that, just stop for a second and check. Notice how comfortable and safe you feel. Because you probably forgot that. Because you're doing it in such a way that's so wonderful, you forgot, I feel really safe. And as you're right here, you might want just to ask, what would it be like to be like this instead of the old way? What would it be like, instead of triggering that old anxiety, that old fear, to trigger these feelings and become safer? And you could even ask, how much safer would I be this way than the old way? And let those questions just go inside. And as you do that, come back into yourself. Here we are with me. Open your eyes. Boom, we're back in the world. We're back in this world. Now, you can do that. That was very quick, wasn't it? That was very quick. You could do that a little bit longer. You can do that yourself, because it's only imagining how you wanted to be, as if it was never going to happen. I do this for flying phobias. And I get people to just go through all scenarios of flying just the way. And they can be rude. They can be a little bit raunchy. They can do anything they like on that plane. And you'll be amazed how when they come back, they go, do you know what? I really enjoyed that flight. Oh. And then we ask that question, what would it be like to be like this instead of the old way? What would it be like to have the trigger that used to trigger the old ways, trigger this new way, or this or something better? How much safer would I be this way, this or something better? And those questions, as you leave them, will go inside. And I know now, your unconscious mind is now computing. And it's probably having a Homer Simpson moment when going, no, I was protecting you from the only way I knew how back then. I've been doing it so long, but now I know a better way. And I know if your unconscious mind knows a better way, it has to choose the better way, because that's what they do. They have to do that, because that is what unconscious minds do. They have to protect you in the best way possible. And if it notices that it's not doing it, it has to find a change. And we've just found a change. Just like that lady driving. You see, when we talked about it, and her mum, she said, well, mum used to disappear. She'd go shopping and maybe not come back for 2 or 3 days. And obviously we were just worried about mum because we wanted to keep the family together. Mum was the matriarch of our family. But when she disappeared, because she was having issues, she did have issues, emotional issues, mental health issues, as they call it nowadays, but we didn't call it that back then. Mum was just mum. She's a bit weird. And we just really wanted to. And she said, oh, I get it. It's as if my unconscious mind is stopping me driving away from home, just like mum used to go. And it's when I get to that distance and that panic, it's trying to keep me to, because I always come home. I always come home. But here's the thing, she said, and I really get this now. She said, my family have grown up and they don't live at home anymore. They live, guess what, about 10 or 12 miles away. So I don't get to see them unless they come. I get it. To keep the family together, I need to be able to drive safely that 10 or 12 or whatever set of miles. And then we did that imagination just like that. And she got it. And her unconscious mind got it. How much safer would she be? And with the positive intention of keeping the family together. Because that's the conflict. It wasn't happening. The unconscious mind was actually keeping the family apart in its effort to keep the family together. A direct conflict. And using fear and anxiety, which didn't work. Calm, using all the skills of driving and having the wonderful connection with her family. And you know what? We did that visualization, a little bit of hypnosis, and it just went poo, gone. One session. And I think that lady with the thunderstorms, it was quite weird, really, because we found out the positive intention. Because the positive intention was, it wasn't really the fear of thunderstorms. She didn't like them, but she did like the attention of people taking around their house for tea, coffee, wine, or coming around her house and bringing a bottle of wine. She liked the company. And thunderstorms were a good excuse. It was like the unconscious mind says, well, actually, it's not fear. I'm not trying to protect you from that. I'm giving you the positive intention of having company. And I found this way of doing it. And I did say to her, I said, because we all have a choice. We all have a choice. Why don't you just let that go? Now you know that it's all about having company. Why don't you just let this thing go? And she said, well, actually, Paul, Do you know what? I don't want to be around my friends all the time. I need my own space. But when it's rainy and thundery, it's nice to have friends round, isn't it? So I think I'll keep it. I think I'll keep this little phobia of mine because it keeps me connected. But when it's not happening, I can do what I want. And she said all of that with a big smile. And there you go. Positive intention. Nothing to do with fear and panic. You see, as I said right at the very beginning, when you look at things differently, they appear different. When you understand things, you can learn from them. But sometimes we have to go dissociated to learn. And I think most of the time we do, because we get to see it without emotion. Dispassionately, I guess. And you see, then when you do that, it's okay to explore it. Because you're exploring it in a way, like that visualization, to find a better way. So you have a positive intention of finding a better way and keeping the intention. And that's where a lot of therapists go wrong. They don't explore the positive intention. What is your unconscious mind trying to do for you? And find a better way. Because then you're in harmony. Then you're aligned. Then you're congruent. All those lovely words. So I hope that's given you something to think about. Do go back over that visualization and just play with it. Have fun. Because that's what it's all about. Just having fun. Because when you're having fun, two things happen. One is it's a wonderful emotion. And it means when you have a wonderful emotion as fun, love and bliss, change becomes easy. You take on change when you're in a good state. Or when you're in a highly emotional state, change becomes easy. So that's why we don't want fear. We want comfort, joy, happiness, bliss, love. And we've talked about responsibility before. So I think it's your responsibility to explore this. Now, you might need help because it might be a little bit on the tender side. And if it is, go find a lovely therapist, find a lovely hypnotherapist, someone who's bloody good at hypnosis, good at NLP, good at timeline therapy, and does things quickly. That's what I do. That's how I work with people. Find a good person. You can work online. I work online with people if they're not in this country. I work with a lot of people in the States. A long way away, different time zones, but boom, we're as one when that happens. And you've also got Paul Clough Online, remember. What's there? Well, you've got some programs. Supreme Inner Confidence, that works on things like this. You've got that letting go of anxiety. You've got, I think there's a wonderful one just for deep relaxation. Because if you get into that relaxed state, then you can do this even better. So you're setting your state. Oh, by the way, when you talk about setting your state, on those free hypnosis tracks at paulcloughonline.com/podcast, sign up for those. There's 50 plus NLP processes and hypnosis processes, hypnosis tracks. Pick one of those and you'll find how to change your state, how to understand your intention, all this stuff. They're all there for you. Looking at things from different perspectives, different perceptual positions, we call it. All there. Have fun with them. That's what they're there for. And if, as usual, not as if, and if there is anything that you would like to have more personally addressed with an episode, let me know. Email me, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. You can say, Paul, yeah, that was really interesting, but can you twist it? Can you just tweak it for this type of thing? And we'll come up with something, I know. Because that's what we do here. So do keep me informed of how you're doing. I'd love to have your feedback on this. Yeah, I did this visualization and this happened. Oh, it's gorgeous. It was brilliant. Things have changed. What are the changes that happen when you look at things differently and they appear different? I just want to know. Love to know the effects of the things that you do for yourself and how empowered you can feel when you do it yourself, for yourself. I'm just your guide. I'm just the person who wants to support you through your dreams and achieve your dreams, have the richness of life, all that stuff. Please do share this. I say this every time and I wish you would. Just please share this episode, share the Personal Development Unplugged podcast, tell people about it if you would, pay it forward so we can have more people understand that fear and anxiety is not something that you have to live with. You can live in a different way, a more better way. There you go, my friend. Do all of that. Share, email me, go to paulcloughonline.com, see those premium programs and also the free hypnosis tracks at /podcast. Do all of that and I'll be with you next time with another episode of what's inspired me or what you've inspired me to do and think about. So until next time, my friend, it's time to fly. Hey, my friends, just before you go, I didn't realize how many breaths I was taking in this last episode because I did it while I had COVID and I wasn't going to let the bugger get me down. But I also didn't realize that I was breathing about every 3 words. So I've done my best to edit them all out. I hope it hasn't spoiled your enjoyment, but we're never going to let this bugger grind us down, okay?
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.